You're listening to Tipped Off, where leaders across the service industry share insights on operations, tech, and team success, powered by TipHaus.
Welcome to another episode of the Tipped Off podcast. Today, very honored to be joined by Shawn Walchef, not only a restaurant operator, but also a fabulous media entrepreneur and podcaster himself. So Shawn, thank you for joining us on the show today.
I appreciate you having me on. Excited to share whatever I can do to help the audience. Anyone that's watching or listening, hopefully I can add some value to their day.
I have no doubt you will be able to. So anyone who is not familiar with Shawn, currently not only a restaurant operator, but runs Cali BBQ Media. If you ever go to conferences, you are bound to see him running around real fast with a camera crew in tow and killing the game. So with that, Shawn, obviously, you just came out of NRA and you've got quite a story about how you ended up where you are. So you built Cali BBQ Media and your show, and you built that on top of a, almost 2-decade-old restaurant concept, right?
Yep.
You layered storytelling on as a business as you were trying to do it for your own restaurants. And what did that look like? When did you realize that the media was maybe its own business, separate from your restaurant? How did it get started? How did you amplify your own successes? Just run us through that journey, man.
Sure. So I own and operate Cali BBQ in San Diego with my wife and my team, 18 years in business. We have a stadium location, a Navy-based location, and our main smokehouse. In the beginning, it was really hard. We opened in 2008, and 2008 was a difficult time for those that remember. It was coming out of the recession. It's also the time that Web 2.0 really started to take off. So the iPhone came out in 2007. I always reference that because we've been building businesses for that long, brick and mortar restaurant businesses and now media businesses. But to understand where our restaurant's location, they tell you location. I picked a difficult location. It was a location that I grew up in. It was my grandfather's previous business. I grew up bussing tables, washing dishes at the same business. Never thought I would come back to restaurants. But when I was 26 years old, out of college, me and one of my best friends, Corey Robinson, we opened up Cali BBQ in 2008, and we struggled. We took over a breakfast concept, added dinner, and we couldn't pay payroll. We couldn't pay our bills. We were just struggling with cash flow to figure out how to get people to come in for dinner service. And it was at that time where we said, by any means necessary. And I think the biggest lie that's ever been told to entrepreneurs and business owners is that if you build it, they will come. The classic line from Field of Dreams, James Earl Jones and Kevin Costner, if you build it, they will come. If you build a baseball field in the middle of nowhere, people will come and they will support it. And that's just not true. It doesn't matter how great your product is. It doesn't matter how great your service is. You need to let people know consistently who you are and what you do. One of our founding principles at Cali BBQ Media is be the show, not the commercial. So we live in a world where, yes, you need to tell people who you are and what you do, but it can't be in an advertised way. It can't be in a transactional way. Come buy my barbecue because I made barbecue. That's not what people want. I have an 8-year-old boy and a 6-year-old girl, and I remember the first digital button that they learned how to hit, and it wasn't play, it was skip. And why is that? Why do humans, young kids, teenagers, adults, grandparents, we don't want to be advertised to. We don't want our content and we don't want our stories interrupted. We want to be educated or we want to be entertained. And when that happens, that comes back to the be the show principle, is tell us a story about who you are and what you do, what you believe in, what you stand against, and do that on a consistent basis. And the problem is in the beginning, when you do content creation, when you do storytelling, no one cares. We believe that everyone cares. We believe that we're going to make an ass out of ourselves, that people are going to make fun of us. Shawn, you look so stupid. I mean, I remember in the beginning making fun of Corey, my business partner, for being on Facebook. It's like, what are you doing on Facebook? Like, we're trying to run a sports bar and a restaurant. Like, what do you have time to, spend all this time messing around with the internet? He didn't have a good answer for me at the time, but I also didn't have a good answer because we didn't have customers coming in to pay our bills. We were going to go out of business. And that's when I decided to get on Facebook and just start telling my small network of friends, Cali BBQ is open for business.
Okay. So Shawn, tell me that, like you mentioned, I'm going to steal that line from you 100%. I will credit you. Be the content, not the commercial. Say that. Be
Be
the
the
show,
show, not the commercial.
tell me, like, okay, you're getting started, obviously, and I agree. A lot of people have these first content creation jitters. What do I talk about? How do I not be the commercial, right? Like,
Yep.
I'm trying to sell food here. What am I going to talk about that isn't commercial worthy and is show worthy? What was your first big content piece where you felt like you nailed it? It lived up to the standards of that slogan right there.
That's a great question. I wouldn't know, to be honest with you. I just know that it was bad in the beginning, and I know it was bad because we are a slow smoked craft barbecue concept on the West Coast. So Cali barbecue is an oxymoron to the rest of the United States. The rest of, if you're from Kansas City, if you're from Texas, if you're from Memphis, if you're from the Carolinas, me saying Cali barbecue is an insult to you and your pride and your traditions and your family. And I just knew that if we made a dedication to the craft of barbecue, and if we did it right, and we slow smoked our meat, and we learned from Gene Goycochea, who's our pit master, and we used the old hickory pits, and we used the right wood, and we used the right flavors, and every single day we worked on making better brisket, eventually people would come to respect our brisket, and they would come to drive 3.3 million people in San Diego. They would drive out to Spring Valley, which is off the beaten path, difficult location, but they would come there because they wanted to try amazing brisket. In the beginning, I was terrified to make a video about talking about barbecue because I'm not the barbecue expert. I thought I was a fraud.
Yeah.
Like, why does anyone want to listen to who we are or what I know about barbecue? Because I don't know anything. I'm learning. Once I
Any
got
advice on that? Like, on the imposter syndrome, I think is very real for people across all industries, right? But any advice to how you overcame the feelings of being a fraud with that and step into the role that, like, y'all are making pretty damn good barbecue?
the easiest thing for me to explain is, like, we started the first time that we got an opportunity to go on the local news. We went on the local news to promote the Spring Valley Tailgate and Barbecue Festival, which was a festival where I shut down the street in front of our restaurant. We invited amateur barbecue teams. We raised money for local youth sports.
Nice.
And the news wanted the story. So we went to the news, and I felt like I shouldn't be talking about barbecue. So I brought Gene Goycochea to talk about barbecue. And he talked about the technique of barbecue and cooking ribs and fabricating the ribs and picking the right sauces and the right rubs. We got another opportunity to go back to the news. They kept wanting to know, why are we doing the event in Spring Valley? Why is a barbecue restaurant inviting other barbecue teams? And it's not that Gene couldn't answer it. It's just that was my story. And whoever's listening to this, whoever's watching this, you opened up your restaurant, you opened up your business, whatever you're doing, that's your story to tell. So if you let somebody else tell it, it's not that they're going to tell it wrong. They're just going to give their version of it.
Sure.
And I realized that it was important for me, no matter how stupid I looked, no matter if I stuttered, no matter how I looked on camera, what I said, it was important for me to get those reps in, to at least get what I wanted out of my mind and onto camera.
I love it. And control your narrative, right? You mentioned, I mean, it's your story. It's yours to control. And if you're authentic, there's so much to be said about authenticity and like what that means. It's obviously authentic coming from the person who created it, right? Whether or not your beliefs about your knowledge of barbecue or anything with it, it is your story to tell along that journey. And that resonates, right? I mean, it truly does with it.
The truth vibrates the fastest. When you speak the truth, people listen. And anybody that's gone to a trade show, anyone that's gone to a conference, when you hear someone speak the truth, it changes. It just changes how you think and how you listen, because you perk up and you go, holy shit, I've been waiting for I go to a lot of trade shows, a lot of conferences, a lot of panels. Sometimes one person on the panel will start to say something and you're like, oh my God, someone just give them the mic and let them talk? I don't want to hear anything else from anybody else because they're all bullshitting me. This person is speaking what's on their mind, and everyone in the audience is nodding their head up and down, going like, this is what we came here for.
Yeah. I know
That's the truth. And that's what real authenticity is.
Yeah, it's the fireside chat where there's clearly one person that should have the mic, right?
Yes.
There's 4 people up there, but the audience is listening to one. And that's all we want, man. We just want more microphone time from someone who's going to be honest about what's going on in the industry. The good, the bad, the ugly, all of it with it, man. So, okay, I love that. That's a fabulous painting of the background. Now tell me, like, something that stands out when I listen to your show and I've seen some of your media is you like the phrase that you are weirdly available. Tell me about that. Like, your guests, clearly love that about you. You're running multiple restaurants in the San Diego area while you're building a growing and budding media company that's thriving in this industry. How are you weirdly available? How do you manage that? How do you keep from one of those from impacting the other? Let's say, like, what does your availability look like, and what's motivating you to stay so weirdly available?
So I stole the line, full transparency. I stole
Love
the
that.
line from a Ryan Reynolds interview with Jason Pfeiffer. So Jason Pfeiffer is editor-in-chief of Entrepreneur Magazine. Entrepreneur is also our publishing partner. So my podcast, Restaurant Influencers, is on Entrepreneur. I'm a big fan of Jason Pfeiffer's work. I saw an article where he interviewed Ryan Reynolds. I'm a huge Ryan Reynolds fan. He's a phenomenal storyteller, masterclass when it comes to building brands and storytelling. And he said that he was weirdly available. And it was a throwaway comment for Jason Pfeiffer, meaning like, he's Ryan Reynolds. Of course, he's not weirdly available. But Jason Pfeiffer put a follow-up piece about this throwaway comment that Ryan Reynolds said, which was, it's my duty to actually, if he says that he's available, and if I do have a question, it's on me if I don't follow up. If somebody offers to be followed up with, if somebody offers mentorship, if they offer to answer a question, and you don't because you think that they're too busy, that's on you. That's not on them. For me, when I think of, one of our longest running podcasts is digital hospitality. And digital hospitality is a thesis that we as restaurateurs, we have hospitality in our DNA. It's our blood type. Taking care of people and listening to people in real life is what is our superpower. But we live in a world of technology where that interaction doesn't just happen in real life. It happens digitally. So if it happens digitally, how can you respond digitally that is hospitable? How can you be Amazon? Why is Amazon's one of the greatest hospitality companies on earth. And no one thinks of Amazon as a hospitality business, but they communicate with so many, millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of people on a daily basis. This is when your package is coming. It's here. It isn't here. You can return it. And they are communicating. That is what digital hospitality is. And I believe to my core that restaurateurs are in a position where they can really capitalize on that thesis if they understand that when somebody responds on Google, when somebody responds on Yelp, if someone puts a comment on Instagram, if you respond immediately, you separate yourself from 99% of the businesses that throw that away. So to the point of I'm weirdly available, the more that I'm available and the more that I respond and the more that I take 10 minutes of time, I spent 2 10-minute blocks with tech founders before this call. Did I have time to do that? Technically, no. I'm leaving in a week to go for 6 weeks, traveling with my wife and my family. We're going to Europe. I'm going to London and Dublin to do Toast storytelling. I have a lot of planning that I need to do to make sure the Toast restaurants are set up, that I have my interviews set up. But I took 10 minutes with each of those founders who are trying to get into the restaurant tech space. They have a lot of assumptions about restaurant owners.
Sure.
And I gave them 10 minutes of my time because for them, they might be the next Toast.
Yeah.
And I don't know. And I want to be available to them to give them whatever guidance. And the next show that I go to, maybe they're there. Maybe they're persistent enough to 5 years down the line, they're going to go, thank you, Shawn, for giving me that 10 minutes. And that has time and time again proven to be correct. And it doesn't matter. They don't need to be a tech. They literally, I say I'm weirdly available to anyone in our community, anyone that listens to this podcast, that watches a video, they know that they can reach out to me. And if I have the time, if I don't have the time, hopefully I have a resource that I can send them.
I love that. It's almost like showing up is half the battle, but I agree with your concept of just making time for individuals if you're in this game for the long haul, right? And I think there's a lot of people who are trying to get in and out quickly, but if you're in it for the long haul, you have no idea who ends up where, whether it's at the company they're at currently, they go and found one, whether they become an amazing resource for you, whether they take over the tech side of a massive restaurant chain, all of those, and just being in general hospitable to them, offering advice, making yourself available. I love it, man. That is, yeah, I would encourage all listeners to make themselves available to it. That's killer advice and a great piece to it. So,
and it's one thing to be available, but it's a thing to be immediately available. I think, it's crazy that the people that I respect and admire the most are extremely busy, and you would think they'd have no time for anyone, yet they're the most available. And how is that possible? Like the people that I'm most they're probably 1,000 times more busy, yet somehow they have the time and energy to answer my text message. That shouldn't be right.
I think it showcases a lot about what got them into that seat, right? It is they're balancing multiple things at once, and they're very, very talented at driving those forward and making people feel heard, offering authentic advice, being there available. So I love that, man. I want to switch gears on you just briefly with this, but like, you've obviously interviewed hundreds of operators. You're an operator yourself. You've hosting restaurant influencers. When you're hearing from operators, like one of the themes that we've heard continually on this podcast, obviously, is employee tenure and turnover and balancing this. And what's this mix of whether it's culture, whether it's pay, whether it's making sure scheduling is available to meet individuals where they need. It is no secret, like turnover in this industry has always been high. And post COVID, of course, and with everything going on right now, higher than usual. We're hoping that we see a return, but this may be a new normal to some degree. Like, what are you hearing from groups about keeping their teams happy and making sure they stick around? If you can if you can lower turnover 20, 30%, massive, massive bottom line savings for you if you run the numbers and you pay attention to what the actual cost of turnover is. But what are you hearing? How much of that comes down to like how they're compensated, how they're scheduled, how they're treated? What are you hearing are the biggest dynamics that influence that?
I think what's interesting is the thing that the most successful operators that I interview today tell me over and over again is that it has less to do with compensation and it has more to do with recognition, which is ironic in the hospitality space that our job is to recognize strangers and turn them into guests and to find out who they are, what they like, what they do. Yet we don't do that to a large degree with our staff. And, that's a mirror on me and my organization too, because we should do better. As I sit here and talk on this podcast, I know that our team can do better. I know that we can do better learning who our staff is, what their idiosyncrasies are, what they want, what they need, figuring out how to publish schedules ahead of time. We've gotten to a point as an organization where we used to publish 2 weeks out, and right now we're not publishing 2 weeks out. And who's to blame for that? I am. As the leader and the CEO of the company, I'm to blame for that. I have to go and work with my team and figure out how do we get more proactive, because maybe that is something that can reduce turnover.
Agreed.
Just letting people know and giving them the ability to switch 2 weeks down the line. Or what if it's a 3-week schedule? Like, what's preventing? Are you telling me we don't have the AI tools to figure this stuff out? Like, we have AI for everything, and we can't figure out what a month out schedule looks like. Like, maybe that's the answer. Yet we're so busy trying to fill today's shift and worry about tomorrow's shift and this weekend so that we can get out next week's schedule. It's like, why don't we back up and go, what would it take for us to make a 1 month schedule? I mean, honestly, I don't know. I'm proposing it just because you asked me the question.
Yeah, no, I love that. And is this, like, when you look at it, the overall context, which I want to call out, Shawn, I don't want listeners to get confused about it, is fabulous, which is we do a ton of work external for our guest, right? We do so much of this foresight and planning and thinking about the guest experience in XYZ that, what is it, 95.5% that we spend that amount of time internal. That how amazing would it be if instead we're empowering our internal team and empowering them to delight the guest, right? Can we amplify our efforts if we are spending more time, whether it's making schedules, whether it's thinking through it? The recognition piece I love. Like, I started way back in the day at Chili's, actually, but then I worked over at Gaylord Hotels in the summers. And they had this term, discover and delight, right? It's a common piece in the hospitality industry, but it's the first time I'd heard it 20 years ago now. And they took it to heart on every level, which was you need to ask guests questions. You need to discover why they're here, what they're excited about, what's going on. And then we have a whole slew of options on how we can delight them based on what their cause is of being here. And I think of that, we try to deploy that internally as well. But even just this conversation highlights a couple areas where, shit, man, there's a ton of avenues with my own staff and with our own team that we can really drive that home. We can find out what's motivating them. And agreed, like, I think always thinking about it from a compensation standpoint, it feels overwhelming. And I can't pay a server $500 an hour if it's just going to escalate. I can't get to that stage. What I can do is make them feel heard, make them have a safe environment, make them as much as possible have an enjoyable work environment. Those are all well within our control, right? If you're running the company, those are something that's available to you with the right effort, the right listening skills, and then a little bit of action on the back end. Oh man, that's a killer piece. I love that. And so with that, then tell me, like, do you hear encounters on transparency? I agree with you that actually compensation is one of the, I'm not going to say it's not a lever for staffing, but I think it's I'll deem it a halfway lazy lever at times, right? It's where people default to. And of course, pay has to be there. No one wants to work for free. But what about on the aspect of transparency? Because this is something I've chatted and we obviously deal with a lot of staff. Is well, hey, I just want a better understanding of my earnings. I want a better understanding of where my tips may go. I want a better understanding of what my roadmap is at this location. Can I move up? So talk to me a little bit about that. What do you hear around those?
I could not agree more. I think one of the most important things is trust.
Yeah.
And from a compensation standpoint, making things less confusing and giving that transparency is one of the best things that you can possibly do for your staff. For them to understand and thinking about just how tips have changed. We were a full service restaurant before the pandemic. We've changed through the pandemic. We, did delivery only, and then we brought back, and then we started doing tip pooling and making sure with California regulations, who's getting tipped in the front of the house, who's getting tipped in the back of the house. How does it get broken down from a day-to-day standpoint, a shift by shift standpoint, and understanding that people want to know where their money goes. And it's complicated.
Yeah.
States like California make it
Yep.
complicated when you get your paycheck and you're like, who am I paying and what am I paying and how much did I make? But the better job that we can do as employers and the technology that we can use to let people know, I was actually having a conversation with a tech company earlier today about a referral program. It's like, how do we build this referral program? And I'm like, the founding principle for any referral program is fast pay makes fast friends. The easier that you make payment, the quicker that you can pay your team, the easier that they can understand why they got paid, then there's a level of trust. Fast pay makes fast friends. Fast pay makes happy staff. Transparent pay makes happy staff.
I love that. Anything that reduces friction, right? I mean, like you think about it, you're not in the hospitality industry because you want to sit on an Excel sheet, right? Like you want to service guests. As you mentioned earlier, like hospitality has to be in your DNA if you're around for the long haul. It can be a quick college job, something like that, no questions. But if you're around for the long haul, the hospitality piece is there. And reducing friction between hospitality, especially internal. Fast pay makes fast friends is another good time. I may steal a few lines before we're done here with you today,
good.
Shawn. So I'll give you credit, when the time is right for them, of course.
Fine.
But man, I like it. I love that with it. So tell me, I want to jump back almost into the storytelling side with digital tools as you're thinking about it, because you guys really thread that needle in a way that's impressive. You mentioned, that, I'd like to think of it. There's always resistance. We talk about friction. You have, almost self-admittedly, like you might have been the friction right at the beginning. Why are we using Facebook? What are we doing here? So when it comes to technology inside, like what is the real barrier, whether this is from, allowing camera crews and creating media, whether it's upgrading your point of sale from a server on site to a cloud-based system, but like, where does the real barrier sit between operators who are doing things the old way and how do they change their mind to just evolve, embrace some of the future items? Let's get going with these items that the world is shifting and we need to adapt alongside of it. Like, how do you see, or maybe you work with groups to break down those barriers with the media side?
Well, let's start with the tech side first before the media side. And
Sure.
I think an analogy that I'm sharing a lot now is, do you have an iPhone?
I do.
Have you ever used the Find My iPhone feature?
I sure have.
And when you use the Find My iPhone feature, you get a list of family members and devices and earbuds and all different
AirTags, all the stuff.
And have you gone through and updated that so it's accurate with your current set of earbuds and tablets and phones so that if you actually looked at it, you would have clean data?
Not perfect. I've still got my old AirPods on there. I may still have an old MacBook on there as well. I'm not sure, but I'd say 80% clean.
Okay. 80% clean is probably better than 90% of the world.
Fair. Okay.
And the reason why I share this story is that, recently we assigned old iPhones to my son and my daughter. They're both 8 and 6, but they don't have a cellular plan. They just have, they use it as a tablet.
Sure.
But I went through the family side and I looked at all of the things that were on there that were either old earbuds or old iPhones that hadn't been removed. Now, how can I expect to use a simple app like Find My iPhone if I have an old tablet that's connected to my restaurant account that's in Spring Valley, or an old iPhone that's named incorrectly that I don't know if it's my daughter's iPhone, my son? How can I possibly bring AI layer on top of this and then figure out like, oh, AI is going to solve my fundamental problem, which is like going through my closet and cleaning my inventory. Like that's the problem.
Yeah.
And we don't want to do it because we don't want to do that dirty work. We want someone else to do it. Yet we have all of these competing technology companies coming in and saying, hey, I've got the solution. I've got the solution. But they've all got the solution for a messy closet and a messy Find My iPhone.
How do you want to take that then? So what is, from an operator standpoint, if you gave them one action point, is it to think through your operations from a fresh start to adopt new technology, or is it to start with the existing technology you have, clean it up, and then see if you need to upgrade or see if that highlights where your gaps may be?
It's a great question. And honestly, I've just started talking about it. So I'm going to continue to play out the thesis as we go, because we have a lot of amazing tech partners. We have a lot of amazing tech partners. I'm fortunate that I get to have conversations like this all the time. And eventually someone smart's going to give me the answer. And then hopefully I can just amplify it on other podcasts. And because I want all of us to win. And we can't win when it doesn't make sense. You know, like I know fundamentally as a restaurant owner, the thing that we failed to do in the beginning was have weekly profit and loss statements. And why did we fail? Because we didn't do weekly inventory. Why didn't we do weekly inventory? Because it sucks. Why do most restaurants fail that are independents, that aren't profitable? Because they don't do inventory. And when they do inventory, the inventory is wrong. So like, if we don't fundamentally fix that, what are we talking about?
I like that. I like that piece. Yeah. No, and there's foundational elements, right? And, you know, we chatted with a operator from 1 to, a couple hundred units in size. And the overall summary is you can brute force some things at a single location, maybe 2 or 3 if you've got the time. You can brute force it, but you're never getting over 3 or 4 locations without processes, without systems, without policies to go through it. And I like that, from data cleanliness to inventory. I mean, it all kind of applies the same of doing the dirty work, right?
It's not fun stuff.
Yeah.
Data cleanliness and inventory is just not there. Like nobody wakes up and going like, fundamentally, we need to fix this before we do it, because it's just not fun.
Yep. It's not sexy. It's not attractive, right? It's none of those things. You don't get praise when you get it done, because everyone, oh, of course. Yeah, that should have happened. But it is something that is a critical building block to every other element that you want to introduce.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And then tell me from like the media side. So what would you say if an operator wants to embrace the storytelling side?
I think the most important thing for any owner operator, actually, it doesn't matter whether you're in restaurants, whether you're a small business owner, whether you're a media company, whether you're a tech company, we are living through the greatest time to be a storyteller ever. It costs $0. It literally costs $0 to go and post to your LinkedIn community right now. And your LinkedIn community can be 6 people, it can be 60, it can be 600, it can be 6,000. But maybe that one post can lead to your next hire, your next investor. It could lead to your next brand partnership. It could lead to your next customer. Like, you have no idea until you do it. And the problem is, once you do it, nothing will happen. So it's like, it's not, oh, I post one video, Shawn, I listened to this podcast, you said post a video about your restaurant, I posted a video, nothing happened. No, nothing will happen. But if you post 100 videos in 100 days, then you have data. Now you can take a look and say, okay, most of my videos got 40 views, but this one video I did got 350 views. And the problem is, people feel discouraged if it didn't have 3. Like, the way that we look at numbers is so ridiculous. Like, there's an actual human there. And I can't tell you how many times I've been to the National Restaurant Association show and I've been on the floor and someone comes up to me and goes, Shawn, I've seen your videos. I'm like, great. Which channel? Thank you for watching. I watch them on LinkedIn. I'm like, I've never seen you comment. I've never seen you like, but they've watched it and it's made an impact on them because they're a human. And when it comes up as like 76 people saw this video, we're like sad because only 3 people liked it. It's all the wrong things to worry about. The only thing to worry about is like, how do I do what I normally do? Because I don't want you to be a content creator. If you're a business owner, you already have a business to run. I just want you to turn the phone on and hit publish. I just want you to do what you normally do.
Sure.
And it will be interesting to enough people to change the course of your business.
That is exceptional. And I think some of that, and correct me if you think this is incorrect on it, but the instant gratification piece, right? I totally agree. You post that one video and you're hoping for something life-changing and it's 7 views. And it's the same as you're saying, though. That's 7 humans who took time to watch something you created. And I love and adore the idea. I used to run a branding and marketing agency way back in Seattle back in the day. But it was the idea that we're going to create a content plan that goes at least 90 days with 90 pieces of content. And we don't get to judge until those 90 days are up, right?
Correct.
We don't get to say this isn't working. We don't get to give up. We don't get to be sad that, $1 billion brand didn't reach out to be us, have an ambassadorship. None of that is real. And there's so many things that go on behind the scenes, but every step along that journey are real people that will see it. And at 90 days, even if, you get 10 views per video, that's still 900 eyeballs now that have seen you. Like real humans that are interacting, that may be customers, partners, maybe future employers, whatever it might be with you, right? So, oh man, I love it. And just kind of getting started, turning the phone on, get going. And I agree, it's the cheapest time ever to do anything in a media front. I remember, what it used to cost for professional videos, what it used to cost to get scripts built. Now it's a click away and a few prompts, if you're doing it savvily. So,
Sure.
I love it, man. Okay. Final piece before we move into kind of our recurring questions that I've got for you, Shawn. Tell me, what advice would you give to someone who recently opened their restaurant or is just about to? Hey, we've got the permit set up where, we got a grand opening a month from now. And the next 30 days or the 30 days after we open, Shawn, what can we do? What's the number one way we can amplify it? How can we improve our chances of success in a very difficult industry?
One of the most difficult lesson that I learned as a restaurant operator, and I opened in 2008. There was no Claude and ChatGPT and Gemini and all of the tools that we have today. I mean, there was YouTube. That's the OG platform, but like the beginnings of Facebook and Instagram and all of those things. The hardest lesson by far was learning how to ask for help. I do not care what restaurant concept you are opening. There are thousands, tens of thousands of restaurateurs that have battle scars, literally been beaten and bruised and bloody all over the fields, that are willing, if you reach out and ask them earnestly for advice. And now you might not take that advice, but you will build a community of other people so that you know that you're not alone. I mean, honestly, that's why I started my podcast. In 2017, I knew that I wasn't alone, and I had to confirm it for myself. I had to give myself a way to know, to have conversations, to know I wasn't as crazy as I thought I was. I wasn't facing the problems all by myself.
Sure.
And there were other people that were going through much more complicated, that could share their hope and their experiences with me. And then hopefully with my audience, if I was good enough to build them.
I love it. And I mean, asking for help is one of the most difficult things in the world, but I think you highlighted that everyone celebrates their win. They don't celebrate their struggles, but we all have the struggles, man. Every single person.
That's where we learn the most.
Yep.
We learn the most, by recently. So I'm in the process of writing my book, my first book.
Awesome.
And in this process, I've realized that my first restaurant, I failed. And it's not that I haven't realized it. I've just never talked about it. My first restaurant that I opened up was with a partnership. I was a 49% equity owner. I opened with one of my best friends, but we partnered with someone and we failed. We failed in that partnership, but I never talk about that.
Sure.
And if a restaurateur asks me, what should I do with the partnership? I have plenty of advice to give them.
I imagine.
Because of those failures.
Agreed. If you had that success initially, you would have far fewer pieces of information. So few ways to get successful, and they're all largely the same. And bluntly, if we boil them down, make more money than you spent, right? At the end of the day, that's going to be it. How you fail is unlimited. There are unlimited opportunities and possibilities, and you got to learn as many of those as possible. And I love that mindset that, failure, we kind of shy away from. We don't like celebrating or talking about it. But every business I've ever started, I can tell you, I learned infinitely more from where I failed than any time I had a success, man. And the failures are the only things that led to those successes, bluntly. So, Shawn, I don't want to steal all of your day, and I want to keep this to commutable level timings. And I feel like we could talk for another couple hours, and I would love that, bluntly. So
you're a good host. You got good questions.
Thank you. We'll have to schedule something else in the future, and I look forward to seeing you. But I do want to move what I deem kind of a speed round. But the gist of this, if you've listened, you're aware. Everyone gets these same 5 questions, and I love hearing from different people, from media and operators, from partners, from payroll companies, to how they think about these 5. So in order, with a relative speed answer in mind, I want to know, first, what is your favorite restaurant concept or brand out there, and what's it doing to make it your favorite? What's it stand out for you?
I would say San Pedro Fish Market. San Pedro Fish Market is run by Mike Ungaro. It's a legacy business, 70 years in business, fourth generation. But Mike and his team have invested in storytelling at the scale that I appreciate, which is the biggest and boldest scale. They have a show on Amazon Prime called Kings of Fish. And it's phenomenal what they've built and the attraction that they have. They have one of the most successful legacy businesses, and they're opening up in the Monterey Wharf. But if anyone is curious of what storytelling at scale looks like, definitely check out who Mike Ungaro is. He has a Fish Factor podcast that we produce, but also go to Amazon Prime and watch Kings of Fish, because if you love restaurants or you love the business of restaurants, that's a place where I would go.
Okay, that is a great advice piece. And then tell me, what do you think is right now? What's the greatest challenge facing restaurants today, and what's the biggest opportunity operators should be leaning into? With all challenges, there's an opportunity. What's the challenge, and then do you see around the corner to what the opportunity might be?
I think the challenge is simplification.
Yeah,
We have gone through such a technological innovation and rush to add tech on top of tech on top of tech, and now we're asking AI to decode the tech when we have to actually fundamentally get down to the root. We have to clean our closet. We have to Marie Kondo. We have to figure out what brings us joy and get rid of everything else.
I love Marie Kondo. Yeah, hell yeah, I'm into that, man. Okay, so then look around the corner with me. What's 3 years from now? And hard to predict, but what do you think is going to be a great challenge? Then maybe we simplify the vendor community comes together. We either all work better together, or there's a series of M&As that kind of shrink the pool of it. So then, what is the next challenge 3 or so years from now for restaurants that they're facing?
I don't know about the challenge, but I will change it to the opportunity. And I think the opportunity is that they can leverage brand in ways that we've never seen because of media, because of CPG. I mean, restaurants are way bigger than their four walls. And I think we're just on the precipice of what that really looks like. The David Changs of the world. And I mean, there's so many examples, Jose Andres, there's so many examples of restaurants that are so much bigger than restaurants because they know how to tell a story. And they also know how to leverage that storytelling into additional sales that are way outside of the P&L that lists inside their four walls.
I love that. And I love the mention of CPG. You're seeing smaller brands being able to get into it if they've built the brand, right?
Yep.
If they've got the story around them, a 5 unit can do every bit what a 500 unit chain can if they're
For
better
sure.
at telling a story. So
Yep.
I love it. Tell me about an industry trend, or 2 industry trends, I should say. And I love this question, so bear with me on it. One, I'm always looking at industry trend you see coming that you believe in. You say, yeah, this is obvious. Everyone needs to be either adopting to it or at least paying attention to it. And then tell me one that you may buck the trend. You say, I think that's a fad. I don't advise. We're not going to adopt that at Cali BBQ. I'm not going to take into that. What do you see?
Industry trend that we see succeeding would definitely be AI vision. I think that's just a huge opportunity that we have just neglected for so long. The security systems are antiquated in restaurants, where they're located, how they're located. But I just know that my restaurant manager has 2 eyes.
Sure.
That's it. And we have a staff that is much bigger than 2 eyes can carry in, every given location. So, what can AI do to help us assist our weak spots, our drops in service, our ticket times, whether things are getting packaged? I think there's a huge opportunity to leverage AI for that.
I love that. And is there something that you think is a fad, something that you just want to let flow on by? You're not going to distract your team by trying to grab it?
That's a tough question. I don't know. I meet with so many tech, so much tech. I don't know. You got me stumped.
I love it, man. That's a good thing. So a believer in the tech, man. I like meeting with the crews and believing in what they have. That's a noble cause for it on its own.
Well, I would actually, what I would say is the thing that I do not believe in is I do not believe in technology companies that don't put humans first, meaning their product first without humans. And I just don't believe that our business can exist without tech founders that are willing to get dirty and listen to the problems that we have on a day-to-day basis, because they change.
I love it. That is a ethos that we preach here, especially for this industry, right? I can see it for other industries, maybe. But for the hospitality industry, for so long we have been limited to servicing the guests we look in the eyes, we can shake hands with, we can understand if they had a good day or bad day. Like, human first in this industry is always, in my opinion, going to be prevalent. I think a few brands are going to experience that backlash if they have over automated and they've gotten rid of too many connections to humans along that journey, that buyer journey. But we'll see. I'm very much on your side of the fence there, though, that I don't think humans are going anywhere for this space. And my last piece, you've been in the industry for quite a while. You have owned and operated for quite a while. Every person in this industry has a hospitality horror story. Tell me yours. What comes to mind as you think of it? What have you seen, whether you were a part of it, whether you were just witnessing, whether it happened at your location and you heard about it from the incident report, behind the bar? What was it, man?
I ruined Thanksgiving for 149 families.
For how many?
149 families.
Oh, okay. Give me the 30-second summary here. We did
smoked turkeys on our 2 Old Hickory pits early on, maybe 2011. We sold the turkeys to pre-sold. So we had a 11 o'clock pickup and a 1 o'clock pickup. And because the smoker was so full with turkeys, our estimated time for pickup, actually, the first birds weren't ready until 1:30. Yep. And the 1 o'clock birds weren't ready until 4 o'clock. So I had angry husbands, wives, grandparents on the front patio of our restaurant asking where their Thanksgiving meal was. And that was the end of us smoking turkeys on Thanksgiving.
That's a high stress environment, family holidays are already pressure.
Yeah, when you diving on the sword, so to speak, I had a lot of diving on the swords that day.
I believe it. 149 of those swords, if I had to guess. So respect on it, man. Shawn, thank you so much for joining us. Before we separate, I do want to ask, if you're weirdly available, where can people find you? How can they get in touch with you?
Easy. At Shawn P. Walchef. Instagram and LinkedIn are the fastest. But you can email me, Shawn, at calibbq.media. Weirdly available on all platforms in real life. And if you come to San Diego, let me know. Because I will, if you give me a heads up at least 24 hours in advance, I will try to meet whoever's watching, whoever's listening, bring you to the shop in Spring Valley, show you around.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate you jumping on with us and sharing some wisdom and knowledge. Any listeners are watching, please reach out to Shawn. I can testify firsthand that he is very much available and always happy to have a good conversation. So take advantage of it. And Shawn, thank you again for joining us today.
Thanks for listening to Tipped Off, the podcast for the service industry. For more tools and insights, visit TipHaus.com.